Well, let's get started. My talk is called Post-its everywhere. I'm a member of Hack42, which is a hackerspace in Arnhem, and it's the most awesome hackerspace in existence. That's not even my words, because Hackaday, the American blog, did a tour in Europe to look at hackerspaces, and they came up with that description. And of course, I can only agree with that. Furthermore, I'm a founding member of the Beehive 4.2 Tech Campus, which is a foundation that's currently in the process of procuring this piece of real estate to turn it into an international hacker hub. Talk to me afterwards over beer, that's apparently free. But the reason that I'm here, I'm a member of Tool. Tool is the open organization of lockpickers. We pick lock as a sport. So normally without keys and definitely without force, we open in a sportful manner, we open locks. So we compete, there's competitions. And, well, lockpicking, you guys seen it in movies, and it's a burglary tool-ish, so sometimes it could be frowned upon to have this skill set. And in order to stay out of trouble, as far as possible, you have to abide as a sports lockpicker to a couple of very simple rules. Rule number 1, do not pick locks that you do not own. That's an important one. And if you do want to pick a lock and that's not yours, then make sure you have explicit permission of the actual owner that you can pick that. And another rule that is good to live by is do not pick locks that you rely on. Because at some point you will fail, and then your front door can't be closed or can't be opened, and that's a problem. So, yeah, if you abide to those rules, and we come back to that later, you'll probably okay-ish. We'll start off with a little video. We start off with a little reboot. Somebody knows computers? Okay. Bear with me, technics. Anybody knows a good joke? We're here. Cancel, cancel, cancel. There you go. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Like I said, we start off with a little video. Show of hands, who thinks this is a smart idea? I don't think it's a smart idea. It's a neat idea, but I don't think it's smart. Uploading your keys to the cloud. Well, at least this is a video that's made by a Belgian insurance company, so at least if your house gets looted afterwards, you know who's going to pay for this. But what you saw is they put a key on a turning pedestal and they made a 3D scan of it. That's not really rocket science. It's neat, but it's kind of cool. That has been done before. Like I said, it's a Belgian insurance company, so they had to take visuals of the key of different sites. Why do I state that? Well, if you live in America, you have a quite limited choice of what kind of locks you want to buy. Being in Europe, you can have shitty locks and very good locks and anything in between. You can buy an okay lock in Europe. In America, not so much. In America, they have utterly crappy locks and very, very good ones, and nothing in between. And of course, the very, very good ones are very, very expensive. So a normal household will go probably for the cheap option. So what enables us to do is to have this service. This is schlussel.com. I don't think they exist anymore. But what they said, you just take a picture of your house key, send it to us with a $5, and we'll ship you a working key back. Well, I personally wouldn't use my home address for that service, but the idea is kind of cool. And for just $5, they ship you that. And they made some quite interesting software to analyze your key. So what they do is they don't just duplicate the key that you send them, but they actually analyze the key, so they look at what brand it is and what the cut is. If you look at, does that work? Yes, it is. Duh, sorry. Whoops. If you look at, if you don't look at, well, whatever. If you look at this cut in the next segment, you'll see that is, if they analyze it, there's light between there. So there's wear and tear on this key. But they're going to cut it to that level, not to the level that the key is, but the level it should be. So with any lock, the key you get in the mail works better on your lock than the key you supply to them. And I think that's pretty cool. Also, this is not new, because there used to be even a service called Outbox, which lived in Manhattan, I believe. And what they did, they were basically a reverse mailman, a physical reverse mailman. So they show up to your house, take your snail mail, scan it, and email it to you. So even if you're abroad, you can get your spam. Ain't that funny? But of course, in order for them to pick up your mail, your physical mail, they have to have entry to your mail box or behind your front door, whatever, wherever your mail resides. So they said, just send us a picture of your key and we'll figure it out. And if there's an extra gate, we want a key to that. And so, yeah, I mean, so taking pictures of keys and then producing actual keys has already been incorporated in business values. So that's kind of cool. But is it new? Well, no. In 2008, at the University of California, they produced this rig. That's a decent camera with a stupid big lens. And with a stupid big lens, you can take cool pictures, like this one. You see a terrace, and on the terrace there's a table, on the table there's a book, and on the book there's a couple of keys. See, in the original picture, that's quite zoomed in. And the picture of the keys is not very sharp, but sharp enough. If we look at that front key on the right, if we look at it, you see that the head of the key, the part you normally hold on to, has a peculiar shape. If you flip that, if you mirror that, you can see a K. Does that make sense? And that tells us that this is a quick set key. That's the brand of it. The fun part of that is that that head is always the same shape. So if that first picture, the second line to the left, that picture is clearly not taken head on. But if you start cropping and altering that picture until that head has the correct shape and size, you know that the rest of the key also has the correct shape and size. And so you can actually totally decode that lock. So that's fun. So taking pictures of keys, even from far away, will enable you to decode that particular code to that door. This was the key to the handcuffs for the German police. So any German police officer had this key, well, probably made out of metal, but same diff. And in 2009, a friend of SSDEF, which is basically a tool in Germany, he came to a hacker camp in the Netherlands. And as it is a big camp, we were mandated to have police walking the grounds. And of course, the police had handcuffs on them. So Ray, one of the lockpickers from Germany, he saw those handcuffs, and he likes his handcuffs. He has a huge collection. So instantly, he recognized the name and brand of the lock. That was a Lips lock. And he said, well, that's the same brand and model as the Germans use. So could it be that this key that opens all the German handcuffs would open all the Dutch handcuffs as well? So he walked to a police officer, because they were sporting all their gear, and he said, "Dear police officer, can I use this key in your cuffs?" And he said, "Fuck no," and he turned his back to them. Well, I mean, this is not the clearest picture known to mankind, but you do see the combo a bit. It's a high-low, high-low. And if you compare that to the original, well, I probably can't decode it from the picture, but I have a good guesstimate that that's the same key, right? So even if you do not leak all your bits of your key, you still leak in intel, right? So, and afterwards he walked to another police officer and they tried it, and fuck yeah. So that key opens both all the German handcuffs and the Dutch ones. And if you happen to have a 3D printer, you can download the STL there. Because it's all open source, right? Information wants to be free. So showing your key is a wrong thing, right? Because it's a password. You're just showing a code. It's the post-it. That's basically what it is. Okay. This is your typical clean desk environment, at least that's how I encounter them. And I see a lot of crap, but I also see a key. And we put a coin next to that because if we take a picture of that coin with key, of course, we know the size and the form of that coin, right? So if we print that picture out, and we can distort it until the coin is round and the same size as a normal key, as a normal coin, and if we know if it's a crappy lock, because this is a crappy lock, we can do the following. If you put a sheet of metal behind that picture and go all kindergarten on it and stay within the lines and cut it out ever so neatly, if you put that piece of metal in your lock, there is a above average chance that that will open that lock. So yeah, success. And the actual important keys are probably in that dresser. Right? I mean, that's where people, it's locked, it's secure, we're good. Not so much. Well, on the subject of crappy locks, here's one. Actually, I'm not bashing Samsonite, because this is an okay-ish brand. What you see here is not one lock, these are actually two locks. You have this combination lock at the bottom with the 3 zeros. That's yours. You can buy that one. The one on the right that says TSA 002, that's not your lock, because you don't have a key to that. That lock is owned by the TSA, so Transport Security Agency, I think. So the American Border Patrol that wants to get in your baggage. And they apparently have the right to do that, so they will open your luggage if they want to. If they can't get into the lock, they'll just break the box and they open it. That annoyed quite a lot of people, so they started selling locks with an explicit backdoor for the TSA, and that's that one. So they have a couple of keys that open all the luggage. So is that a security thing? So there's a shared password that you're sharing with a couple of thousand not highly trained personnel. Something is bound to go wrong, and it did. This is a picture that came from a newspaper, and they were given a tour in the TSA. How does it work? Where does your bag go? And one TSA officer said, well, with these locks, with these keys, and of course, high-res pictures, this is quite enough. And of course, it also didn't help that some internal TSA documents were world-readable on their web server. I mean, these pictures are dead on with a white background, and we know the sizing, because if you by that actual lock, you know the size of your keyhole. So you know how much to blow up this picture in order to make it fit. And well, in the 3D printer world, of course, this happened. I mean, you can just download all the TSA keys, the complete set, at this address and print your own. And then open all your luggage. Well, technically not all your luggage. You can open all the luggage. So I refuse to use these locks. I just use a tie wrap because at least then I know it's shitty security. And that's it. I mean, it just doesn't work as a security perspective, in my view. So yeah, officials putting keys online in newspapers, that happens more often. A couple of years ago, this story went to the press. There's a magic key, that can open 468 subway stations, and you can buy that online for $27. And if I say open, it's the master key. It's not just the key, it's the master key. It opens all the things. So not just the gates, the doors, no, also the doors to the technical cabinets. So you can switch off power. You can ride for free. Fuck, you can even ride yourself, because you can get everywhere. This is the actual magic key that gets you into every New York City substation. And because this was post 9/11, terrorists, if terrorists have this key, they can create havoc. So terrorists shouldn't have this key, shouldn't have this key, this key. So by running the story, creating scare that bad people can get hold of the key, they're basically giving it to them. And just in case this picture is not high-res enough, they ran other pictures as well. And I mean, it's not high-res, but it's big enough, and it's on a map that has a known scale. So you can figure out exactly what the size of this key should be. So I think that's wrong. I give this talk a couple of times, and when I was in Los Angeles some time ago, one of the questions in the audience was, did they change the keys afterwards? Well, I don't know, because I don't have this key, duh. And I don't live in New York, and even if I did, I'm not allowed to check that, because I do not own that lock. And I'm pretty sure I won't get official permission to try that. But sometime after this, quite some time after this, a newspaper ran this story. It's the same key. The price dropped significantly. And of course, you can only run this article by printing the actual key on a quarter page. And then some guy figured out that if you go to the online version of this paper and fiddle a bit with the URL, you end up with this picture. This is the key to all New York City substations, given to you courtesy of a newspaper that thinks it's a really bad idea that people have this picture. Awesome, right? Brilliant. And these things keep on happening. We'll do a little video.
Let's bring in NBC Bay Area's investigative reporter. Vicki, seems unbelievable that one golden key, so to speak, unlocks so many pumps.
And we were surprised to see Roger could call it the key to the kingdom. It is a remnant from back in the day when all gas station pumps were made with the same lock to make it easier for inspections and maintenance. New keys are just providing easy access to a very lucrative crime using new high-tech technology, and in the end, we are all on the hook.
Hidden behind here, a new Bluetooth-enabled skimmer that can rip off your credit or debit information in seconds. Universal gas here for thieves to install these new skimmers.
So yeah. If you have access to a box that also takes a credit card and your PIN code, that's an excellent spot to place your crapware, right? I mean, your skimmers and everything. But if you don't want to make it look nice, you can put it inside the box. And if you have this key, of course, that's stupid easy. And because that box will look like the real deal, because It is the real deal. It's the actual box. They're all keyed alike, and it's not even that it's a stupid combo, because it's an easy key, but I know what to order. I need to order a Y11 USA key. And yeah, it's convenient. Yeah, not just to you guys, it's convenient for the world. So you can keep on doing this. And guess what? They keep on doing it. If you live in, well, if you take a city like New York, with a lot of high-rise buildings and a lot of people, at some point there will be a fire. And then the fire department comes and puts the fire out. That's the idea, right? And of course, a fire department wants to get in that building to put the fire out. I mean, they have big axes so they can get in anyhow, but a key would be handy. But you don't want to give all the keys of the city to a fire department, because that doesn't scale. Because then you need a separate fire truck to hold all the keys, because there's a shitload of buildings in New York. So what they do is they make some keys that open more buildings, or they make tiny vaults and put those outside of buildings with the actual key to the building in it, and that vault has, those are keyed alike. So you have a couple of keys that are actually the keys to the city, all of it, like the subway key. So that's brilliant. And of course, these keys have to be cut. So you go to a copy paste, a key copy paste. But a lot of these keys are protected. You're not allowed to have those. Some states even have laws against that. You're not allowed to have some keys. That's weirdness. UK also, some keys are not allowed. And this is a story about a key manufacturer, a key copying guy that stopped working because of old age, I reckon, and he basically sold off his old stock.
Well, the apocalypse might be coming because the New York Post reported this super legitimate story. An intrepid reporter for America's third dumbest paper has found a slightly disturbing item for sale on eBay. Former lost and dandy Ferrari sold the undercover reporter a New York City fireman's key ring for $150. The keys give the owner the ability to control elevators, circuit breakers, subway entrances, and traffic lights all over the city. They essentially become a key maker from the Matrix Reloaded.
Media being media, every now and then you get an original story. And what all the other media does is copy that story. It's a copy of a copy of a copy, not unlike some keys. So papers were running this story with purely head-on pictures, white background of those allegedly evil keys. Because terrorists can't have these keys, so we give them all. And actually, this paper did think about it for a bit. So they contact a locksmith and asking the locksmith, would it be okay to run these pictures? So that's smart thinking, right? It's at least a bit of OPSEC. So, but then this locksmith said, I never made keys from pictures. No, can't be done. Run the story, no problem. So so basically what I'm saying is, if you're going to ask the advice of a specialist, make sure it's a specialist. Because I'm pretty sure he can copy keys, but the fact that he didn't do it from a picture doesn't mean the world can't. It's basically don't run your own crypto, because that's what you're doing. And, well, so these pictures are fun, because you can make all the keys, and instead you're still struggling with this picture. Other media outlets even added some more information to it. So they actually said what that key is used for, how you can create chaos with it, and who's supposed to have it. So you can, the second one, you can use all the elevators in, Empire State Buildings. That's fun. So if you run the alarm, the fire alarm, and all the elevators are up or down or not existent or whatever, there's a key that can operate all the traffic lights. Seen Hackers, the movie? It's fun, right? Everything red, everything green, perfect chaos. You can switch all the alarms on or off. So great fun. And actually the second key from the right, that's again your subway key. So that keeps on happening and happening. So it's brilliant. I mean, people are giving out important keys. This is the logo from a hackerspace in Amsterdam, which is also in the Netherlands. And like I said in the introduction, I'm a member of Hack 42, which is a hackerspace in Arnhem, which is also in the Netherlands. So we are related. And we're not the same, there's not one venue, but we're related. So we're like siblings. And what do siblings do? They quarrel. I mean, poke and troll each other in a good spirit, of course. So at some point, Tech Inc. got a new building. And they were very proud of their new building. We have a new building, we're going to move. Perfect. So one of our members contacted one of their members and said, are you sure you have a good lock on that building? Because, well, you need to secure your building, right? So what you could do is send us a picture of your lock, or of your key. Because we have a member that knows his keys, and we can assess the security of that particular lock. So this showed up on our mailbox. And of course, you know the story by now. So what you can do, if you, does that work? I'll just do it here. If you do this, you end up with this, right? You just make an outline of that key. And if you take that outline and feed it to your newest machine, and if that machine happens to be a laser cutter, then you come up with a form, with a shape that has the same outline of the key, right? I mean, that makes sense. But it's the shape dead on of the key. And of course, a key is not only shaped with teeth, but if you look at the front of a key, there's a swervy bit. So this piece of plastic is not supposed to fit in that lock, because it's way too wide. At least if that would fit in your lock, you have a shitty lock. That's, I mean, you can pick it with your fingers, basically. So we're still burning. Ta-ta, ta-ta. There's a lot of fumes. We didn't have ventilation back then. A key, focus. And neatly labeled, of course, because we have a ton of those. And so you end up with a piece of plastic in the shape of the key. So, of course, if you load this shape into a key duplicator, like so, you get a key with that shape. So that's supposed to be a working key, because it's the same swervy bit that we guesstimated that a bit, and it has the same teeth form, so it has the correct code. And this should get us into that hackerspace. Okay, we're a hackerspaces, and of course we're all about free information, and information wants to be free. So we put all these technical details on our public wiki, which some people didn't agree on. And of course, being siblings, and we quarreled a bit, the day after we just gave them a new lock with 60 copies, and that's with 60 keys, and well, that lock was way better than the other one. So we quarrel a bit. But basically we're saying, don't send pictures of your keys, because that's wrong. So, okay, stills with key pictures, bad idea. We got that from now. But let's see if we can lift enough info from a video. So we'll have a key in movement and see if we can lift enough info to do the same. Oh,
E-mails van mensen die inlander proberen eigenaar-e-mails.
Thank you.
Zoals deze e-mail die we gekregen hebben. En dat gaat eigenlijk over iemand die beweert dat je heel eenvoudig met een sleuteltje de flitspalen overkrijgt. Dus stel je voor, je wordt geflitst, je hebt een sleuteltje en leef je uit op de flitspalen van de besturing van die palen. En je ook die slotjes heel gemakkelijk kan kopen. Ik onderzoek dat even. We zijn in Brussel en we beginnen natuurlijk bij de sleutelaar. Sleuteltjes. En het is een inslotje. Volgens de mailschrijver zit dit in de flitspaal. En kan ik met die sleuteltjes de flitspaal openen. Hoeveel heeft dat gekost? Dat heeft €14,23 gekost. Als dit werkt voor €14,23. Dat is op mijn goed goedkoper dan een goed werk. Dit is die dan? Deze palen. Er zijn in Vlaanderen heel wat acties geweest om deze flitspalen uit te schakelen. Men heeft erop geschoten, men heeft ze in brand gestoken, men heeft ze zelfs afgekleefd. Maar eigenlijk is dat volgens onze mailschrijver allemaal niet nodig. Want het geheim van deze paal zit in deze kast. Deze robuuste kast is de aansturing, besturing, elektronica, de stroom van die flitspaal euro, dit sleuteltje. Dat je daar deze combinatie onschadelijk mee kan maken. Ja, kleppen gaan hier open. Sleutel past. De deur gaat open. Hier kan je dus gewoon handmatig en automatisch aan en afzetten. Maar dicht doen, terug op slot. Volledig nieuw. Dit is verafkoeld. Dit kan.
Speed cams. Interesting. That's a key I would like, because collection, of course. Well, it's a weird story, because apparently you can not just copy the keys, you can buy the actual locks. That's so weirdness. But still, we'll see how far we go. And of that video, we were looking from picture to picture, frame to frame, sorry, and we lifted these. Well, the one on the right is quite straight on. This one's better. That's the money shot. The one that's straight looks to be quite straight up. And if you look at the head of this key, it has a peculiar shape. And if you know your locks and you're European, you go like, that's a BKS. It's a German brand, I think. So they all have the same head. So we can play the same game as the one with the quickset with the big lens. So if you look at the BKS key, this is basically the style sheet of that particular key. So you know where the cuts will be and what the possible depth art is. So what you keep on doing is alternating between this picture and that picture and figure out what the code would be to that lock. And we came up with this. So we guesstimated that this would be the lock to all Belgian speed cams. But of course, there's no way for me to figure out if that actually works, because rule number one, only pick locks that you own. I don't own a speed cam. Or have explicit permission from the actual owner. Yeah, like that's going to happen. So, how to figure it out? So we bought a speed cam. And yes, we did. There's a budget for that. We have a troll budget, and that's get used for fun stuff. So we tried this key in an actual speed cam, and fuck yeah, it works. So this is the actual key to all the Belgian speed cams. So maybe we shouldn't show it. Because having the actual key in hand enables you to do a lot of things. Of course, you can run to a key copying service and have it duplicated, but that takes time. And of course, some keys are patent protected, which means you cannot get the blank keys for it. And what normally is patent protected is if you look dead on a key, the swervy form. There are a zillion different ways you can swerve your key. And of course, you have to have a blank that actually fits in your lock. So if you go for a quickset or a Yale like the Americans do, then you don't need that many blank keys. But in Europe, with a huge difference, with a huge choice of different locks and keys, that's going to be harder. Because if you go to a key copying service, you see a whole wall with different key blanks, and, well, you have to have them all, which is a problem for nefarious purposes. But if you have this box, which is quite expensive, but a fun box, what this box does is cut keys, because it's a key cutter. But instead of cutting the combination, so if this is your key, a normal key cutter would analyze your key this way and cut it that way. This one goes from this side in. So it takes slugs of brass and it mills them to this. So it analyzes the key and mills the grooves in the lock. This is a bit zoomed in. So it makes you a blank key, even if you have no idea what the brand or make of that make or model of that key is. You could still duplicate it. And of course, this blank keys you can put in a normal key copying machine and run it. So that's fun. It's an expensive box, but you can play with it and it's fun. But of course, if you're a bit more low budget, we'll take this technique. Tin soldiers. How are tin soldiers made? They're made from tin, but how are they made? Casting. Good man. They're casted. So you take a form, put it in a pliable material, and you make a cast. You can do that with keys. You've seen James Bond do it, and most people thought it was a gimmick, but this actually works. It depends on the quality of your lock, of the tolerances within your lock, if that makes sense. If you take clay and make your casting, if clay hardens, it shrinks or sets or whatever, it does things. So the shape of your key is altered, just a bit. If the tolerances within your lock are big enough, it'll still work. But if you have a very quality lock with low tolerances, that might not work. What you can do is befriend a dentist and get that two-component stuff that they use to make impressions from your teeth. Because that stuff doesn't, well, it does set and it gets warm, but it doesn't shrink or expand while doing so. So it's awesome stuff. It's quite expensive, so make sure you know a dentist. That works. What you can do with this is just pour some liquid or some low melting material in it. There are sets that do this. I mean, you can just buy the clamp or get other stuff to do that. You can just heat it up, pour metal in it, and if you take well, we'll do that later. So, and even keys with weird shapes like this, I mean, if you have a normal key cutter machine, this will be hard to mimic, but now you can just cast it. And it looks a bit brittle, and it probably is, but it has roughly the same shape, and this works. It works, it actually works. And of course, if you fuck this up, if you don't fill the mold completely, you can still remelt it and reuse your mold, because you didn't kill your mold while doing it, because you could just open it. So that's kind of fun. So losing your key for a bit of time, it's actually losing your key. So if you lose sight of your keys for the better part of 20 seconds, you should consider it lost. And if you find it afterwards, you should consider it to be a souvenir, because it's not really a key anymore, because a key is a password. If you leak your password, it's not a password anymore. At least it shouldn't be, because a password is supposed to be a secret that you know to open a thing, like a door. If everybody can open that door with the secret password, it's not secret anymore, so it shouldn't be a password. Right? Okay, this is Rob Gongrijp, which is in the Netherlands one of the most famous hackers we have. He's the main reason we now again are voting with a red pencil instead of a computer. Yay. So he's supposed to know his OPSEC, because he's a hacker, right? He knows OPSEC. Well, let's look at a little video and see how that goes. And then you have hackers in your Cold War nuclear facility. It's fun. What's wrong with this picture? It's a bit It's a bit out of focus, yes. This is not the actual key. This is the key they showed you, but that's not the key. This is a cabinet key. That's not from that elevator. But you guys didn't know, right? The tension was still there. It took nothing away from the story by giving you this prop, because it's a prop. It's not the key. It's a key that he happened to have on him. But the journalist was happy. He had footage. There's no OPSEC leakage. There's no intel gone. So just fake it if you want to show a story like that. People won't notice. You guys didn't, right? So that works. So not showing your key is a valid option. So you can leave it in your bag or whatever. And there's even stuff for that. This is called a key port. And it's basically a box that you can slide your key in and out of. This one is branded DEF CON because they sold it at DEF CON. And I think it's a fail, so I don't mind getting the name of DEF CON in there. So what it does, you can buy add-ons for your box. So you can get blank keys that are the same type of model as the keys you normally have. And they send it to you. You can take those to a key copying service, and they cut these blanks to actual working keys, and you can slide them in the box. Kind of cool. How do they know what blanks to ship to you? Well, it's easy. You just make a picture of... Yes. So you're talking about DEF CON, which is a security conference, not unlike this, just stupid way bigger and less cozy, I can tell you that. So you're talking to a paranoid crowd, because they're all IT professionals, security professionals, and hackers. And to that paranoid crowd, you're selling a device that's even more paranoid, because it can shield your actual key. And to that crowd, you're saying, snap pictures of your key and send them in and tag them. This is the front door, this is the back door. And, well, fair to say, they do say for added security, you can shield the teeth. But that shouldn't be added security. That should be the fucking default. You're selling a security product, right? It's same as, if I buy a router, it shouldn't say, please change your keys. No, it should mandate a key change. It's a security product shouldn't be in fine print. In the fine print shouldn't be the manual how to make it actually secure. A security product should be secure by default, right? So we know this is a bad idea. Well, if you find this on a console, you should frown at least, or yell, or hit somebody, because this is bad, okay? So why isn't this bad? This is a website that's called pleasebreak.in. It's India. What this guy does is he crawls Twitter, and he crawls Twitter for a tweet which has a picture and a caption that says key. That's it, and he copies it to his site. So you have keys that people put on Twitter, and of course. It doesn't give any much info on here, but it's all click-through. So if I click through, I come to the original tweet that has the key on it and the actual property. And because I know his Twitter handle, I can probably figure out where he lives. Well, he lives in Turlock. I have no idea how big Turlock is, but I know what the house looked like. Google Street View, anyone? And having access to his Twitter, well, come on. And of course, I know it's a new house, so it's probably filled to the brim with new, shiny stuff. It's a bad thing. You shouldn't show that stuff on Twitter. Like saying, I will be on holiday for the next month. That's a stupid thing to say on social media. And especially if you're handing them the keys. Because people will look at those keys. And keys are being watched all the time, because you're being watched all the time. If you live in the UK, in London, for example, there's a shitload of CCTV cameras everywhere. And they get better and better, and more. And all of you guys probably have a smartphone, which is a tracking device and a camera. And that camera is high-res enough to snap pictures from quite some distance. And you don't see Google Glass that anymore, but they're already looking at follow-ups. They're looking at Google contact lenses, so you can't even see if somebody's being a glass hole. So whenever people look at you or a machine looks at you, you could be leaking intel if you're using your keys. So a couple of years ago, when electronic payment was introduced-ish in the Netherlands, there were public announcement videos that said you should shield your PIN pad when you're punching in your key, well, when you're punching in your key code. Basically, you can do that with a key. I mean, you shouldn't hold a key like that, but just like this. Nobody should have actual visual sight in your keys when you're using it, right? So it's too easy to fuck up. I know I'm between you guys and beer. We're almost done. This is a bad man. It's actually a killer. I know that because he got sent to jail and convicted for being a killer. And he didn't just go to jail, he also walked out. Because the design of the master key was from that prisoner, was printed on front of the prisoner's information handbook. And a copy of said book was given to all inmates upon arrival to that facility. So yeah, security can be easy, and security can be hard. But for some reason, security is always quite easy to fuck up. So have a little think about it, have a beer, and that's me. Thank you very much.